Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, Akwa Ibom. And good morning to the beautiful people living around Ibiakuran, where we are broadcasting from. Yes, it is Rise and Shine Midweek edition, and we're excited to come your way this beautiful morning. We hope you're doing just fine. Yes, my name is Otobasitam.
And my name is Janice Cobham. A great start for all of us today. It's the first day of the month of June. Of course, for some people, we have actually achieved so much, while others, you're still trying to dot the I's and cross the T's, but do not worry. We just hope that you have a very productive June. My name is Janice Cobham. Welcome and good morning once again.
Very bright morning to you there. I really like Otobasi's greetings to the people living around the Biakuran. I mean, I am Uyaya Nyeken, and like Janice said, it's a beautiful month of June. It happens to be my birthday in 2 days.
Wow.
So I mean, I'm the happiest to be here in this month.
Yeah.
And we are grateful for the opportunity to see a brand new month. Yeah, so welcome to our show this morning.
So how does it feel to be a June born?
It feels good actually because I have a number of really great people that I admire, the world over, born in the month of June. So yes, it's.
We'll talk about that after the show, but yes, interesting things keep happening as far as Nigeria is concerned, and of course we'll start you off with that this morning.
Yeah, so many things happening. I think we should rather start on a good note because, of course, this is a new month. So let's start with something good. And that's the story of the Nollywood actress Stephanie Linus, giving birth to a second baby
After 7 years.
Yes.
Wow.
I think that's something that, would really be, cause joy.
Yeah.
And you can imagine how maybe she had waited, she had prayed for it.
Oh, well, you never can tell. It could be deliberate. Suppose
Deliberate?
Deliberate.
I seriously do not think.
Child after 7 years.
Yeah,
Well,
sometimes
it could be deliberate,
it is.
but most often than not, we know that it's not
It's
deliberate.
not deliberate. It's not.
Because
it's not.
I mean, if you say it was deliberate to pursue maybe like a PhD or something, but
Not PhD. You know, the kind of job she does. To be an actress is not easy.
she's not even in the forefront of acting anymore.
Yeah,
doesn't
she
do
had
movies
taken the
as
backstage
often.
in acting. But let me just read what she said so that we know that this is really not deliberate. She
Okay.
says, a princely arrival. Okay, the filmmaker actually expressed gratitude to God. And then in a statement she signed by herself and her husband, the couple wrote, a princely arrival. With thanksgiving and gratitude to our Heavenly Father, we are delighted to share with you the announcement of the birth of our second son, whose arrival has immersed us with unspeakable joy.
Of course, a baby is always a blessing,
Yeah,
and
sure.
there's no way you have a bundle of joy and you not have unspeakable joy that you cannot express with words. So that does not necessarily mean that it was a prolonged wait. Sorry, that it was no. Perhaps the baby wasn't coming through. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that was the case because I know a lot of times people like to do bed spacing, especially with working mothers. In as much as she's not at the forefront of acting, she might be engaged in one or two stuff that is really taking her time. And of course, these days mothers don't really trust their kids in the hands of people.
Well, I think another flip side to it is that maybe for some reason the baby didn't come as at when they were expecting it.
Yeah.
So it was more like, let's just hope. But you know Nigerians and how they do things sometimes, or generally, let's just say people, I wonder when Stephanie is going to have another baby. So
what are you
somebody's
get-
family
who watch
business
us?
just automatically becomes
Yeah.
your problem.
No, the good thing is that she's not living in Africa, she's not living in Nigeria because we said, why are you waiting now? Yeah, okay, this one needs a younger one and
No,
all
but-
of
Yeah, all
those,
those kind of things.
but whom watchers can watch your way all the way into
oh
your inbox.
God.
They can watch your
Social
watch your
media
way all the way.
in-laws.
Yes, now social
How
media
do you
in-laws. Like Auntie Steph, we haven't seen a baby born.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in that
Yeah.
area, but we are super excited that the bundle of joy, like she said, has arrived, and I know that it brings like an entire new face to the family.
Yeah.
And we like to know that in this entertainment industry, we still have people who uphold family values and they're still forging ahead despite all the bad news around.
Definitely.
We absolutely
Interestingly, it's a month of celebrity babies and princely arrival of baby. And when you talk about princely arrival, that word princely arrival is not of does not speak delay. It does not speak prolong wait, speak something that comes timely. You know, prints are like always on time, and then they have everything working for them and all of that. So yeah, I
But
think
yeah, you know,
that's
like if you put it that way, you know that we can say no matter how long you have waited for something, when it does arrive,
It
it
seems
has
like the
arrived
right
on
time.
Yes,
Oh.
it has arrived on time.
On
It has
time.
princely arrived. So no, she couldn't have said, "I didn't
well.
And again, I think the way,
I loved her idea for the photo shoot.
sure, yeah.
It was different. I like the fact that she balanced out her a durée.
Yeah.
I think that's the name for this material.
Yeah, more like
With
tie
the-
and dye.
yes.
Yeah, Jura.
I liked it.
And she was able to like hide the baby bump
no, that's
from
a
the
new thing
eyes
now.
of the public.
No, that's
You know,
the in
not
thing.
a lot of people actually knew that Stephanie
yeah.
Linus was actually, you know, preggy
But
and
it
all
would
of
have
that.
also been interesting if she let the public know. You know, Rihanna just
And
had
then-
her baby recently.
Oh,
and
all
of
the
course,
flaunting
I'm
from
telling
day
you,
one.
I'm telling you, she gave a different flow to
To
maternity,
pregnancy.
to pregnancy, and all of that. But then, well, give it up to Rihanna when it comes to flaunting baby bumps.
Yeah.
We are all celebrities in another climb, in
I'm
another
telling you.
level
I'm telling you.
altogether. But don't forget, we are Africans, and you know the
Yeah, we have
African
that.
thing.
Of course,
our
Rihanna is
tradition, oh,
African. And she
But-
said
but-
my grandmother was a black woman who gave birth to a mother, a black woman who gave birth to her, a black woman, and she's going to give birth to a black child. So
But she's a black American. We are typically Africans. So by the time you start showing your baby bumps, you're like, no, you're not supposed to be showing your baby bump outside.
No one is
Hey.
going to say that there is a difference. You can't tell me that a black American and an African are the same.
But a lot
No,
of
in terms of
Africans are
mentality
doing
now.
that now.
In
A
terms
lot
of
of Africans
mentality.
are doing that now. In pregnancy shoots, you see that happen a lot of the time.
But you know how they backlash them?
Yeah,
Yeah, the backlash is always there.
Yeah.
Because we always have this African mentality. You're not supposed to, pregnancy is supposed to be hidden. You don't know the enemy that is trying to poke.
I beg you,
And-
leave those
you
things.
understand?
You know, like Tito was saying with regards to Stephanie not showing up with her baby bomb earlier,
Yeah.
but you know, like you were saying also that it was hidden for a very long time. I think that's a new trendy thing. People no longer show you.
Expose.
Yeah, they don't expose. You don't even see. I think like 2 years ago, people just showed their baby bombs, show you pictures ahead.
Yeah.
But now when you see the baby bomb pictures, know that the baby
has arrived,
Yeah.
actually. That's true.
That's the way most people.
So
are
they
doing
take the
it.
pictures and keep.
keep.
Yeah, they keep it. After the
when the
delivery of the
baby
baby, they now
arrives,
start
it's
sharing the
announced.
picture.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, interesting trends as far as this country is concerned. We keep getting interesting trendies.
Yeah, and then next is, of course, the story of former governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, who actually, his house was invaded by the EFCC some few weeks ago, and
When I listen to that, and it's also a good news. It's a good one because he's been able to beat bail and still get involved to be screened at the presidential panel, and of course he's been cleared, so he'll be standing in at the primary for the election. Praise
Nigeria, my
God!
country.
So all the kabaj, makasakataka on the
Yeah, that's
floor.
what I was going
It
to say,
wasn't
because
in vain.
the amount of praying that he put into when the EFCC arrived his
invaded,
home,
yeah.
you would think that this man was a pastor. You know, just calling on the name of the Lord, speaking in other tongues, and I'm like, oh my God.
But you know that showed that one thing with power, when you're there, still have that reference to people, still reference God. Don't make it look as if, when you're there, when you're in power, you're just there, for yourself and your family. At the end of the day, they wanted Nigerians to, play that pity party, because everything was shown to us, how the doors were broken, how the EFCC guys came in, and all of that. So it was more like, Nigerians, please show pity to us.
Yeah.
But then, when you're in power, power is transient. It will
Sure.
come, and it
And
will
it will go.
definitely go. Yes.
Definitely. So the good thing is he's been granted bail.
Yes,
500 million.
500
Bill
million
for
naira.
that,
That's quite democratic because I know you will have to still stand trial, which of course is the part where a lot of Nigerians will be expecting, because most times we have media trials, you hear these things happen, EFCC invites you, or perhaps they just come in and take you like that, and after a while you don't hear about those things again. Then all what was alleged, those accusations, nothing has been proven, would I say refutal has been said, and then it's just swept off the carpet, and the multi-million billions that was allegedly, squandered would not be heard of again. So it's about time we leave media trial and still perhaps deal with issues drastically. So yes, he's been granted bail of 500 million naira, and of course they've collected his blue card. He's not to travel out of the country because
no, the court has also asked the EFCC to return, his passports, depending on when he pays, the bill, and then again there's a surety. He has to bring a surety, and the surety is also going to pay the same sum of 500 million naira before he is released. Anyways, we also are hoping to see him, standing for the primaries.
Okay.
Yes, he's already been screened.
He's been screened.
He's been screened, so of course he's ready to.
So the screening was yesterday, and he made it to the screening, and yes, he is ready to join the primaries, the All Progressives Congress primary that will be holding this weekend. Of course, it's an interesting one, and all eyes are on the All Progressives Congress to see who actually will emerge as the candidate of the All Progressives Congress for the presidential election. Interesting one, because frankly speaking, what the PDP counterpart did is something that it's not sitting well with Nigerians as far as that decision is concerned. So perhaps Nigerians are looking up to the All Progressives Congress to see if they would do the needful and actually allow, would I say allow, or perhaps due to lobbying, negotiations, dialogue, agreements, still try to see how they can face equity and justice, equity and fairness as far as power rotation in Nigeria is concerned.
Don't also forget that the PDP are putting up their acts and putting their houses together to make sure that they take power come 2023. But for me, I just believe that, or I just hope that whoever comes out as the president of Nigeria in 2023, that person will be able, to give us a Nigeria of our dreams. There are so many things that have gone bad in this country, and we need someone that can fix things.
Definitely.
That's just my prayer and my, my hope.
A lot of persons were expecting President Muhammadu Buhari to actually come up with a preferred, aspirant, because he did mention at some point during his media session that he has a preferred candidate, preferred aspirants, which of course he would not let the public know as at then, because perhaps he feared that he might be taken out of the game because of the intrigue. But then when he made to the governor's
system of naming a successor, I don't think I like that part of
well, he did, but he did not actually mention it again. He said he wants a candidate that would be widely accepted across the different states of the federation. Someone who is not being identified as a, stunt Muslim or stunt Christian, someone who can relate with the realities of Nigeria and still understands what the All Progressives Congress stands for.
I think basically,
I think it's left for Nigerians to figure out who that person is.
Basically, for me, if someone says, a governor or president says, look, I have to bring in a successor, the main idea behind bringing a successor is to cover up your tracks. That's just it. Because there are so many things that must
funny
have
enough,
gone.
President Muhammadu Buhari is not interested in. Really, it's not like, from body language, you can see that he's not very, stiff about a particular person. He's liberal with that, in as much as so far so good. You could see he's liberal with that. But until after the primaries, we get to find out if actually the body language is anything to go by.
Definitely. Anyways, I think we'll just go on a break.
Definitely.
Yes, we'll take a break now, and then when we come back, of course, we'll be looking at our focus for today. Our focus is actually on health, as a Health Wednesday, and we will be looking at depression. And we'll also be looking at depression from two angles. There's actually a trending story of a woman who went suicidal because of societal pressures. So when we come back after the break, definitely that's what we'll be talking about.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the Matters Council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again.
For us in Akwa Ibom State,
It is another opportunity to elect
credible
and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in the Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All election nights are about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, and in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
As of state and government, Secretary General. Government. As of state and government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the legal Nigeria for SpectrumTv to recover for the lapses in county.
Good morning, here is SpectrumTv News Brief at this hour. I am Uyai Anyakan. First in our news today, federal government has commenced distribution of ATM cards to the beneficiaries of the Household Uplifting Program in Kwara State. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Sadiya Farouk, announced this through the National Cash Transfer Program Coordinator, Halima Shehu. Away from that, the federal government is partnering the World Health Organization and United States Center for Disease Control to enable Nigerians access global stockpile of monkeypox vaccination to curb the outbreak of the disease. Executive Director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faiz Al-Shraib, made this known during the flag of the COVID-19 vaccination at community pharmacies in Abuja. Still in health, Nigeria Center for Disease Control has dismissed insinuation that the country has laboratories where monkeypox virus is generated. The center gave the clarifications via its official website as the country continued to report cases of monkeypox since January of 2022. In politics, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, is planning to partner Nigeria's anti-graft agencies to stop vote buying in the June 18 governorship election in Ekiti State. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu confirmed this in Ado Ekiti during a meeting with traditional rulers ahead of the election in the state. On the foreign scene, the U.S. State Department has suggested that Washington is readying another aid package for Kiev. This follows the U.S. Congress's approval of additional $40 billion in military and humanitarian assistance earlier this month. In sports, Paris Saint-Germain have signed Nuno Mendes for Sporting Lisbon on a permanent deal. The League One champions have activated an option to buy Mendes for a reported €34 million, and his new contract ties him to French club until June 2026. Details of this and more in our news at 12. We'll head back to the Rise and Shine crew.
State and government, Secretary General, delegates.
This was the Lagos Nigerian for SpectrumTv to Rural 45 State County.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine. If you're just joining us, it's already a very full morning here where we bring you the discussion on everything trending and everything you need to know. And yes, we would absolutely love you to join the conversation. So join the social media platforms, and we have our numbers displayed on the screen for you to call in, send text messages so that you engage the conversation that we have this morning. Welcome.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, this morning we'll be talking about depression, and this is coming, would I say, this is coming as with reference to what the sad incident that took place recently. Of course, the accountant of a particular company, a telecom company, actually was said to have committed suicide. That's she took snipers and took her life. And the circumstances surrounding her death is something that can be traced to depression. And of course, it is said that she wasn't married. She is 47 years old. She isn't married. She doesn't have children. So, well, that could have been to a large extent the reason she decided to take her life, rather. But then it's not enough to not to marry at 47. It's not enough to, how old was Rita Dominic when she got married? But she didn't take her life. I mean, that's not an excuse to take one's life, but actually, being that as may, we'll have to talk about depression and how people can get themselves out of depression.
Yeah, I think basically, okay, the picture of Folake Abiola is on the screen this morning, and for her, it's quite pitiable. She had a good job going for her. She was an accountant, but that inner self-happiness, I think, was just what was lacking. Look at how beautiful she is, and you never can tell
position
what
that
she was.
A lot of persons who envy her for.
Envy her, yeah, like, oh, she has attained an amiable height in the telecoms company, and she was looked at like, this is the kind of person I want to be.
Sure.
But not knowing that so many things were going on within her, and she wasn't letting it out. I think those are some of the issues that we have when we talk about depression. You're going through something, you're feeling bad about something. Why not talk to somebody? I know that in Nigeria today, we have situations where you go tell people your problem. Okay, this is what I'm facing. And then it is being used against you. So sometimes, people like to keep it to themselves. Let me just handle my issue the best way possible, all by myself. But when it gets to that point where it begins to shift from the normal worry, everybody, as humans, we definitely get worried about things. But when we begin to move from that angle, from that level of worry into something more deeper, I think it's just high time that we talk to people about it.
Well, I wouldn't say to talk to someone about it. Yes, talk to people about it. I wouldn't agree that much. But then, if you must talk to someone about your challenges or whatever you're going through, then you really have to be careful with who you are discussing with. I think it's better if you discuss with a counselor or with your pastor, someone that has
and
that
you think that this
I think before we even get to that point,
Yeah.
I think what is necessary here is for everybody to deliberately build a healthy circle around them. Because we are just beginning to get to in Nigeria, we're just beginning to get to the place where you say, oh, talk to a counselor, talk to a therapist. Those things have not even gained root yet in Nigeria. But the things that we must do as individuals is to deliberately create healthy circles. Because I know, like in the case of the late Miss Abiola, one of her neighbors reported that though she had a sociable life, she preferred to be left alone. And in the record of the years she's lived in that apartment, they can't say she had a friend, apart from her younger sister who came around. So these are things that you also put the blame on individuals. People will always hurt you in relationships. You will always have issues. You will always tell someone something and they use it against you. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't build healthy relationships. Out of 10 people that fall your hand, one person is going to come through. It's important we all have those kinds of person. You can find them at work. You can find them in a sibling. You can find them anywhere. So there is no point of making excuses.
But perhaps she found one
problem.
in a sibling, a younger sister. Like they said, she's the only one that used to come through.
Okay, yeah, the only one, but I mean, when we talk of healthy circles, we are looking at least 2-3 persons.
Okay.
Your younger sister is one person. What if the younger sister in question had some successes she thought are successes, but she doesn't have? Imagine that younger sister being the one who's married with children, and at 47 you're not married, but you have a great job and all of those kinds of things. So we should just build a healthy network, and whatever happens, when you're getting to the brink, find someone to talk to.
Definitely. You know, it just brings us to mind that sometimes we just get so immersed in societal pressures. We allow these things, you know, take over us completely. And again, you know, research, or rather the stories has it here that aside from she being depressed, kind of, she had other internal ailments. So that could also possibly be the reason why she decided, okay, I can't take this anymore. But again, let us also, you know, make it as a point to always emphasize the fact that suicide is not an option. It is not an option. But I think I have some kind of points, you know, when it comes to depression in Nigeria, some kind of facts. Let me just read it out. It says depression in Nigeria is more common than we think. Now, a lot of people don't know that depression is real. You know, they take it like, okay, it's just one form of witch hunting or something. But depression is real, is one of the most common that we can think of. And then it is also, it calls for gender disparity. So research says that, yes, it is more in women than it is in men. And you might just be wondering, why is it more in women?
Well, women have many components. The society expects so much from women. So yeah, they're always vulnerable. They call them the endangered species.
Alone is enough to run you banana. Is enough to just make you go bonkers. You know, right? The women come. There's your monthly cycle. There is the attention from everybody. And funny enough, that monthly cycle thing has a way of destabilizing some people's lives. And then you think of pregnant women after delivery, women go through a lot.
And there's one that is like a medical revolution, you know, postnatal depression. That one where you put to bed and all of a sudden you become depressed for no reason. So yeah,
and
those things are there.
That one is the part that even disturbs me more, you know, postpartum. Like every mother is looking forward to having her child. For mothers that, you know, have put to bed before, they tell you that when once the pain comes, you know, the pain is so severe, it looks as if, okay, you want to take your life, but immediately the baby comes, everything is calm. So I begin to wonder, at what point now will a mother that has seen her bundle of joy, healthy and alive, at what point does she relapse to that situation where it causes her so much pain, so much depression? She doesn't even want to see her child.
It happens most times with you know, first-time mothers. Yeah, it could be some situations that are surrounding the childbirth, family issues. A lot of factors can be, you know, accredited to that. But truth be told, when it comes to depression and women being vulnerable, yeah, they are vulnerable to a whole lot of things because they have always been at the, you know, they call them the endangered species, you know, but then we look forward to see when women can actually shive off a lot of issues from them. But then dealing with depression and sticking with the case of the accountant of a telecom, you know, industry, you know, there are many factors. A lot of things must have happened which I feel should be investigated. Perhaps if security agencies can get access to her phone and try to see what else she was involved in. Because a lot of times people would say they like to jump at issues, jump at conclusions. It could be some serious issues going on that she could not tell someone. But because she wasn't married, they would just come up with the, you know, the assertion that yes, she got depressed because she wasn't married, because she didn't have children, and all of those things. So it's not enough to jump into conclusions, like you've mentioned, that she was always she loves to be left alone and all of that. I feel she was going through a lot that should be investigated, perhaps.
Yeah, and then another fact about depression is that tackling depression in Nigeria will be very, very challenging. And you all agree with me that, you know, the economy of the country right now is something that can make you go bonkers. Like, different things happening. There's no money. There's hiking food prices. There are families that don't even know where the next meal is coming from. You know, all of those things put together is enough. So tackling depression in Nigeria is not something that we say we'll actually be able to tackle it sometime. But we just hope that, you know, mental health services will be up and about so that people can actually access the services when they actually get to that point.
But there might be some solution somewhere. It boils down to, you know, I listened to, you know, the governor of Cross River State speak yesterday when he talked about the just concluded APC or PDP presidential primaries, the way people use money to lobby and all of that. And he spoke that the problem of Nigeria is gradually shifting from leadership problems to followership problems. That the followers, the citizens, expect so much from these aspirants, in as much as, you know, they're trying to, let's say, sell off the future and just get the money, get paid and all of that. That no aspirant will spend that much and get to office and not want to recoup. So going from his standpoint and then bringing it down to depression and the economy, I feel so much can be done by citizens if we can make the process easy, and then government and people are elected into offices and they make policies right. And of course there is job creation, and of course if there's job creation, then we invest in with us entrepreneurship, that people have a life. When people have a life and they have a reason to live, I'm sure that issues of depression would be played down on.
Definitely, it will be played down on. But let's just see how, you know, we ourselves, you know, when they tell us that, when you go to a medical expert or professional and, you know, they are mentoring you or talking to you about depression, the first thing they tell you is that you are the first person that can heal yourself of depression. And that is when you're willing to come out of that state of depression. So you're the first person that can tell yourself, I need to come out of this. You're the first help to yourself. So
definitely.
Yeah. So I think some of the, because I know like some of these things, people will say, how do I even know that I am depressed? How do I know when someone close to me is depressed? I think one of the primary ways is that people just begin to become withdrawn. Now it's even difficult for you to decipher when an already withdrawn person, let's say introvert, when you experience that an introvert is getting more secluded, I think another word is seclusion, you know, and then maybe people who would oftentimes be more expressive, be more verbal about things, they just begin to, you know, want to be on their own, clogging, don't want to speak to anybody. Those are some of the signs that you begin to see, okay, something's wrong with this person. Why aren't you speaking? Why aren't you talking to anybody? And I know that, I think that was last year, there was this thing that was going around when people said, please check up on your strong friends. Those people that seem to be the ones with a strong front, you know, they seem to never have a problem. Oh, Janice, you have your life all, you know, calculated and put together. Those are the people that you need to check. Because like in the case of Abiola, now someone will say, successful lady, working, you know, in a good place at a managerial level, you have money, so what are you worried about? You know, in a society where, and people are like, you can have any man that you want to, even if you're not married yet, and all of those kinds of things. But you don't know that someone is dying, you know, personally. So I think people getting withdrawn is one thing. They begin to lose interest and zest for things that matter to them. I think, because I think another way would be if you saw someone who's expressive, and probably they were expressive through their music or through their writing, and over time you realize that they're not coming forth with these things again. I think that's the first place to reach out. Hey, what's the problem? I have noticed that over so and so time you have not, you know, done this. Are you okay? You know, so they begin to become secluded. And then food. They begin to lose appetite for food and all of those kinds of things. Socializing becomes
lack
a burden.
of interest, something that you have
generally told. For someone who is not living amongst friends or living in like a family house where you have people share the same apartment with you, those things might not be noticeable. But like loss of appetite, how would you know that someone is not eating? Okay, that's one. And secondly, when you talk about withdrawal, a person can just open his room or her room and then get inside and close it. ordinarily you think perhaps she wants to read or wants to study. You don't know she's actually withdrawn and all of that. And these are things that are difficult, especially when it comes to urbanization and people being independent. And of course, when you talk about encroachment and freedom, you know that having to always punch at someone and say, like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Is that, why is she disturbing
me?
And all of those things. So it's difficult to actually know where to draw the line between checking up and being a bug and perhaps just disturbing someone.
I think I'd prefer you even feel like a burden than not even try at all. But then when you mentioned the fact, the burden of urbanization, I think something else that is important for us to do as a civil society is create work environments that help people to bond. The average person spends a lot of time at work. So if you cannot create an enabling environment where you have, so the person might not, it doesn't have to be an intimate friend. You guys don't have to be buddies, but there's got to be someone that looks at you and be like, Otobasi, I don't think you're yourself today. The friendship doesn't have to be like 5 and 6, like a husband and a wife and a sibling relationship. But someone who people spend upwards of 10 to 15 hours at work. That's some people that, like you said, some people go to offshore, duties. They're away from family and friends for 2 weeks
on, 2 weeks
and 2 weeks off and all of those things. If you don't have that kind of enabling environment at work, which is something every individual should also deliberately create, then we are going to have a lot of problems. If you have someone at that level who did not have even a body at work, someone who looks at you and be like, you're not okay, then that's a problem. It behooves on everybody to create an enabling environment. Your workplace, okay, Abiola was set to have a church life.
Yeah.
So even
that should have influenced her.
1 or 2 persons should have been able. You can't tell me that you're going to go through life and there is not even one or two persons.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So another fact, in line with this, it says every Nigerian has a part to play in tackling depression.
Everyone.
So nobody is going to bug you. It's not bugging.
And
it's
I mean,
trying to check up
truth
with
be
you.
told, with the new advent of social media, I doubt if there's any way one can actually be bored. Because we have a lot of comedy kids scattered around. We have a lot of people doing TikTok, interesting things you can just look at and forget for a minute what you're thinking about. So yeah, if you just pick up your phone, there's such, and it's uncensored. You just keep, it pops up and you keep seeing them until your data runs out. For her, working in the telecommunication industry, I doubt data was the case. So she had the luxury of data to have gone through so much content and try to, get herself entertained and worry less, perhaps.
Yeah. Anyway, we just pray that in the course of life we will not come across such again. And then just to mention, I think the sniper thing, the federal government at some time, put a ban on sniper, that we don't want to see sniper in markets or at home. So I wonder where she got that from, that she used to kill herself. But that's fine. We'll go on a short break now, definitely. Yeah. Okay. And when we come back from that break, we hope to have a guest, and she'll be looking at postpartum depression, another line of depression that most times people do not talk about. We need to talk about it. We need to sensitize, new mothers on this so they don't get into trouble or get to take their lives.
Definitely.
is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact,
that's what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
Elections in Nigeria.
Glad to have you back. Yes, this is your Rise and Shine coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. And of course, we're still trying to battle out issues of depression and how one can actually guide his or herself through it. And of course, much is prevention, the preventive way of what you can do so you don't possibly snap into depression. So yeah, that is our focus for this morning. And of course, we are a click away from you, so go ahead and then join us via our socials on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram with the handle at SpectrumTv.ng, and share with us your thought. What do you think about depression? Who have you actually helped out of depression, or what has been your experience with depression? And other ones will be joined in this conversation by our guest.
Yes, this morning we'll be having Dr. Pius, who's a medical practitioner with a lot of expertise in gynecology, and he works with the Nigerian Medical Board Association here in Akwa Ibom State. So he'll be joining us on the call right now to answer the questions. Our conversation now is gathering down from just depression, and we want to talk about postpartum. Yes, depression. Hello, good morning, Dr. Pius. Hello, good morning, Dr. Pius.
Hello, good morning. Can you hear us? Well, while we continue on that discussion, we're trying to keep tabs with him.
Absolutely. So, postpartum depression, I know that sometimes people, like Janice was saying earlier on, you just imagine why would someone be feeling depressed after they've just had a baby. But I believe that giving birth changes a woman in many ways than we can even begin to say.
Definitely.
You have a newborn biting for your attention every single hour of your day. All of your routine and everything changes in ways that you don't even imagine. And then if you think of the fact that in some cases people don't have a very
I think we have Dr. back on,
Dr. Pius,
on the line.
good morning, sir.
Hello, Dr. Pius. Hello.
Okay, we're still having issues with that line coming through. Hello, sir.
Well, when you talk about motherhood and the dynamics that it comes through, it gets to different persons in many different ways. One of which it would surprise you to know that some mothers, after putting to birth, would not even understand what has happened. Some of them might not even know that they have a new baby. Some of them might sleep off and sometimes get very scared when they hear a baby cry at night because they don't know where the sound is coming from. So you wonder how one would put to birth and live with the baby for 2-3 days and still do not understand that there's another person, another addition added to them. So yes, it does happen, but I feel Dr. Pius would be best to still tell us there's perhaps the medical terminologies of what really transpires at some point leading to these kind of feelings.
Definitely, and there's something they call. There are other types of postpartum. Okay, there's what we call the baby blues. I think that's more like the early stage of postpartum. And there's also what you call the postpartum depression, which is the PPD.
Yeah.
And then there's also postpartum psychosis. I think all of those terminologies are some of the things that we need Dr. Pius to talk to us about. I think he will give us an in-depth, analysis to why a mother, can actually fall into postpartum depression. But again, these are things that happen. And sometimes maybe newborn mothers, or new mothers do not actually understand that they have come to that point where they are facing either baby blues or postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. So I think we need a professional that will be able to analyze those things and let us know actually how they work, and you know, how these mothers can actually come out of them, because it's as bad as, you know, having a newborn mother, you know, feel so pained for having her baby, to the point that they feel like taking the life of that baby. Like the baby is bringing them so much pain, so much horror. So let me just take the baby, let me just take the life of this baby away so that everything just ends. It's that bad, you know, when mothers fall into postpartum depression. So, and then again, there are just so many things about postpartum, and of course the symptoms, or the symptoms of postpartum.
Truth be told, there are many
depression.
dynamics to it. Yeah, of course. The symptoms is it appears
like, you know, the
definitely
symptom of normal depression.
But we still need an expert to actually bring us, you know, the right perspective to these things and actually put us through on what actually leads to this. What's the medical condition? And you know they like to speak grammar. Let's hear about those big ones now as we go on a brief timeout.
Yeah.
But we will return with our guest on set, and perhaps we'll still try to connect with the doctor and then get you all that you need to know about postpartum and depression, everything that you need to know about it. And it will after this timeout. Politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All election night is about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abuse. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police force.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did.
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My lord, the matters council is leaving the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Glad to have you back. Yes, we're still on Rise and Shine, coming to you live from the beautiful hills of Ibiakuran. And right about now, we've been joined on set by a guest, a psychologist who will be doing justice and actually shedding more light on depression and how it can be tackled.
Yes, this morning we've been joined here by Ms. Udwak Thompson, who is a registered psychologist here in Akwa Ibom State and has, years and years of experience on our hands with regards to working with people with regards to psychological issues. I know she's worked with, there's this home in Ikotekpene that takes care of psychiatric patients. She's been there for a couple of years. She's worked with them and she has some of those experiences. She's also an expert in child psychology.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's an honor to have you here this morning, ma'am.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
How's the journey here?
You don't want to talk about it.
Okay, it's psychological, so let's leave it at that. All right. With what we've established now and having a first-hand experience when it comes to people that are depressed and possibly having some psychological problems, what has been the worst experience so far you've had?
Wow. All right. First of all, I want to say thank you for having me here. And talking about the issue of depression, it's actually a common, complex but dangerous, medical situation or illness that most times, defy definition or description. Am I getting it? Because most people tend to use the term depression to refer to different things, and some use it when they are experiencing general sadness, and then some when they are experiencing the blues or humiliation as a result of frustration in life, or so some people tend to say they are depressed. But I believe we are talking about the major depressive disorder.
Okay, how about you tell us your own definition of depression?
Exactly. That's since we are talking about the major depressive disorder in this case with relation to postpartum or peripartum depression. Depression in that angle could be defined as any form, is actually a common sickness or a common medical condition that affects the way we feel, the way we think, and even the way we act or behave. So that's when you cannot say you are depressed or you have depression when it has not been diagnosed. Just because you have a momentary sadness, lack of money, loss of a job, of course it can make someone sad, but that can't be termed depression. Depression has to last at least for 2 weeks. At least for 2 weeks before you can diagnose. And the individual that is experiencing depression has to have maybe significant changes in the previous lifestyle or the behavior of the individual. The activities that he or she enjoys doing before, there must be significant change or marked changes in the behavior of that person before you can say
how do you separate sadness from depression? Because from what you're saying, someone can be sad for about 2 weeks. Perhaps you lost a loved one. You can mourn for more than 2 weeks or even up to a month.
Even if you lost
and withdraw yourself from some of the activities you actually found fun doing and all of that. So yes, that is still the same qualities of someone who is depressed.
Okay,
so
I was getting to that point. Why? Because even some medical condition like deficiency in vitamin can mimic the symptoms of depression. I getting it. Even brain, tumor can mimic such, symptoms. But that's not what I'm talking about. What we are trying to say is that before I think you said, okay, what's the difference between being sad and being depressed? Of course, a person that is sad, let's say for instance, out of grief of losing a loved one, and may decide to say, okay, I want to take my life. I want to go with my loved one. But over time, that will wear off. That decision to just die along with your loved one will wear off. Unlike a person who is experiencing depression, is focused. Remember, depression has 3 dangerous Ds. I tell me dangerous Ds. The person must have experienced despair. The person must also be dangerous to both himself or herself and other people around them. So that means you have to take away any harmful thing from the person. And the person must be suicidal, dangerous. The person is prone to dying, death. That's the 3rd D, meaning that the person have this suicidal ideation every now and then. And if given that opportunity, the person will take his or her life. So that's different from a person that's different from a person who is grieving. That's different from a person who is losing a relationship, so to speak. And then besides that, a person that is having sadness as a result of events or any eventualities around the person is different from a person that is having depression, in the sense that, let's say for instance, self-esteem. A person that is losing a loved one or grieving over a loved one may not really lose his or her self-esteem. The self-esteem is intact. While the person that is experiencing depression as a result of feeling of worthlessness, hopelessness, and despair, the person may decide to say, okay, let me take my life. Are you getting it? So that's the main difference. The self-esteem of the person that is sad is still intact. Of course, if they hammer you with money or dollars into your account, also it flew out. So that's momentary, sadness. Yeah. That's sadness. That's not necessarily depression. But for depression, these 3 Ds must be present.
So money does not cure depression.
That's not. The depression is that's why I say it's a complex, medical condition. It's a complex medical condition. The individual self-worth, why am I living? What is it? What is life worth? really worth. So the person the focus of that individual that is having depression aims at dying, taking his or her life.
Okay, so doctor, I want to find out now, what would actually warrant somebody or push somebody to that point? Because if you're talking about depression now, it means more like a gradual process. You're slipping into it, okay? Maybe from despair, worry of something. So what is that thing that would actually happen to somebody and that thing would push that person into that state of depression?
Okay, like what we focus on in this segment is postpartum or peripartum depression, which has to do with the type of depression that individual experiences during childbirth or after childbirth. Right. Are getting it? So it could be, as I've heard of so many women after giving birth, 1 week, 2 weeks, they feel bad. If their spouse or their partner is close to them, they will vent it on the individual, thinking, this is the reason, you are the cause of my trouble. And even the child, I've heard of some mothers, they'll look at the child as a piece of rock or wood that they can just carry and fling. Remember that symptoms of depression ranges from mild to severe. Can range from losing of sleep, physical restlessness, and it can make the person have fatigue, can make the person even lose appetite. I get it. So it ranges, the symptoms ranges, but this symptom must at least, like I said, persist for 2 weeks plus before you can diagnose. Of course, you can't just say a person is depressed or is passing through depression when you've not evaluated the person have not gone through some screening and the rest of it for you to know about it. So what really makes people to get into this, like the risk factor now, that makes people to drift into depression, is as a result of so many factors. And one of those factors is, like I said, brain chemicals in the brain. Some different brain chemicals, the neurotransmitters, has its own way of acting in different persons. The way a particular brain chemical is working in person A may be different from person B. I getting it. So because of that, it affects the way the person drifts into depression easily. And another factor is the genetic factor. It runs in family. It could be, let's say for instance, a set of twin. I getting it. A set of twin. If a twin had maybe have a depression, there's that tendency, 70 to 80%, that the other twin will have depression, will suffer depression. And another factor is personality of the individual. People that are highly pessimistic and with low self-esteem, that they have, if they are exposed to stressors or any stressful event, there's that tendency that they may drift into depression easily because of their personality trait. I getting it. And then environmental factor too plays a role, as a risk factor. If a child or an individual is exposed to excessive abusive environment, or an individual who is being exposed to neglect or any form of abuse, there is that tendency that this person will drift into depression. A partner or a woman who is living in an abusive home where the domestic violence is key in that home, of course you are not expecting that person to be happy and be jumping up and down. Once in a while the person will drift into depression, and it may lead to other medical conditions.
Okay, so is this in terms of postpartum now?
Okay, generally now. Okay. But in terms of of course, if you are pregnant and then you don't have a supportive husband, you don't have anybody, any social support. Remember your family, your husband, your friends, your loved ones, they are there. They form part of the social support. Yeah. So in the situation where this individual doesn't have that, you are the one that maybe took yourself to the hospital, you are suffering. If you have visited the antenatal ward or the ward that the labor ward or whatever, you see that women pass through a lot and they need their spouses or their partner or their loved one to be there. So if you are the one that are calling baby A, you are the one running after delivery to go. There is nobody to help you. Baby B, come downstairs. Like in the issue of our hospital here in the state, you get to find out that they have the mothers up there, and if the baby is maybe in that ICU, they will have to they'll call you to go and breastfeed the baby. They'll call you, you'll be running up and down, plus the fact that you've just delivered, you've just put to bed. That's emotional stress. It poses physical and emotional stress on the person, and at a point it makes the person to drift into depression.
So I think a question I'd like to ask, because it's important that people that live around persons can know how to identify that this person is drifting away.
Sure.
So how can family members realize that now you're going to cover both for postpartum and then normal
General
individuals?
depression.
How can I know that my sister or my brother or this woman who just put to bed is drifting away into depression?
All right, giving birth or the process of childbirth could be, exciting and very, very good to some people. Some people look forward to it, they are anxious to get to that, while some that are experiencing this depression, it could be really stressing and difficult for them. Therefore, in such case, the social support or the individual that is, hanging around this person, you need to watch out for those symptoms that I mentioned. Most times, your sister, your sibling.
So maybe you will reiterate those symptoms a little bit.
you did, okay, like the symptoms now, I said it could range from the mild to the severe, ranging from loss of sleep. The person may not be able to sleep very well. Of course, you have insomnia, and then may have other problems. And apart from that, the symptoms of not being able to withdrawing. Let's say, for instance, if your sibling or the person was the social freak, or the person that is really outgoing and extroverted in nature, and before you know it, this person, nothing interests this individual anymore. And this is not the same person you've been living in the same withdrawal from what used to give pleasure to the person before. So you have to watch out for that. Loss of appetite, I say, is one of it. And then, increase, useless or restless activities of the person. The person is just, or some of them, they may talk, they limit the way they talk. They are not talking the way it's supposed to be. They are just counting their speech. Or some will just gaze into the space and they are just lost. So you have to know this was how the normal behavior of my person or my sibling was before this time. And you have to hang around. Sometimes they may not want to talk. You ask them, how is it doing? I say, how are you doing? What is happening? They don't want to talk. Instead, it's really aggravating the pain.
At that point, what do you do?
At that point, you just need to let them know they can talk to you anytime, at their own convenience. Whenever they want to talk, they can call on you and say, okay, this is it. But encourage them to, if they can't talk to you, they can talk to their doctor. Are you getting it? They can talk to their doctor. They can talk to whoever they feel can open up, because it's necessary they open up.
Well, I would like you to distinguish this. In the first place, you've talked about how you can get someone out of depression by noticing some of the symptoms, especially when someone is withdrawn. In the case where someone has a personality trait of an introvert, naturally nothing really, they're not like sanguines, they're not out there, and then they snap into depression. How can that be detected?
Every personality have what they have flavor. Are you getting it? Let's say before depression sets in, the behavior of this individual. Let's say the person is introverted in nature. That means there are some other traits, there are other things that this individual used to enjoy doing naturally. So you won't say that because you are introvert, you won't enjoy yourself, the things you used to do that brings you joy, you won't do it. Of course, it's necessary to be the person who has been with this individual long enough to know there is a change in the behavior of that person, and now know how to bring this person. Of course, introverts, they need this love. They need you to affirm to them. Of course, they don't trust you to open up like that to just anyone. So you need to understand the personality trait of the person and then know how you can relate. Anyhow they will open up.
Let's also, I think it's good to talk about depression, because the more we talk about it, the better for everybody out there. But let's see how we can begin to help people, that are going through this. Okay. Somebody just lost her life. She had a great job going for her, but we don't know what happened, and she went suicidal. So let's begin to know how we can help those people in society.
Because most times they don't live around. Like in the case of Abdullah, she lived alone with just a sister who usually visits her from time to time. And then not much time for someone to actually get to understand at what point she became withdrawn, because everyone said she's sociable and she engaged in church activities, which pretty much from afar you can say is a normal life for her. So how can those set of persons get help?
Okay, for such individuals, let's say that if you observe, in the work setting, everybody feels that you are okay, except you open up. And being that Bella was an extroverted individual, it was necessary for you to, it will be very easy for one to notice. It may not be very significant because she could be might have been someone that could cover up so that you wouldn't there is this barrier to her. But in every barrier there is a way to break into it. I get it, especially for the extrovert. Being that this person was outgoing, and I think if someone actually paid attention, it would have been possible to note and discover that. So, but for people who are already experiencing depression, either as a result of giving birth or any other factor, losing your job, losing a life partner, losing a loved one, losing a relationship, I keep saying it's enough to drift someone into depression. So how do you come about it?
That could be because you've seen a lot of persons who get into
depression. Seriously. There was an incident that I noticed in the when I was doing my internship in Federal Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Calabar. A very fine young lady, the parents are well-to-do, but all of a sudden, she was being brought in to be treated for depression. Yeah. And then all that she was focusing on was how to take her life. Why? Because a guy jilted her. A guy that she so loved and invested into, jilted her. And before you know it, of course, the wire in her brain disconnected.
So I'm going to ask, with regards to medication, is there a medical system, is there medication that, like suppressants that people use to help them through depression? I know, like in the climate that we live in, a lot of things are first of all religious. People are going to want to pray themselves out of depression. I'm not saying it works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, rather. But then, is there a medical system?
Yeah, there are different ways. Of course, like I said, it's a serious and dangerous medical condition, but fortunately, it's treatable. People have recovered. 70 to 80% of persons that have been treated have recovered from depression. So it's possible. And number one type of medication that I could maybe prescribe could be like psychotherapy or talk therapy. Are you getting it? The individual could be exposed to that. And the CBT, that's the cognitive behavioral therapy, which help the person to have insight, or to come out from that distorted mindset and then relate with the present, that this is not just the end of life. By so doing, you will be able to alter the behavior of that individual back to the way it's supposed to be. And then there is this ECT, electroconvulsive therapy, but that one is when every other medication has been proven abortive, and the individual needs to be carried to, like, of course, last resort. Yes, the last resort they'll get into this ECT machine and then operated by, of course, professional, so that they'll be able to trace the neural or the brain chemicals that is misfiring or something, and help the individual. But there is antidepressant as well. You can use antidepressant, but it must be strictly prescribed.
Definitely. At the point of prescription is where I want to take you real quick before we wrap it up. Okay, in not more than 1 minute, please kindly address which place, in the absence of, I notice someone who is depressed, what do I do next? Where do I go to?
All right. You can't just start treating the person or telling the person to get over-the-counter drugs to ward off depression. You have to take the person, refer the person to either a psychiatrist. Of course, there is a psychiatrist that specializes in post or peripartum depression.
That can be found in any government hospital?
It can be found in any government hospital. And then self-talk could help as well. Self-talk, encourage the individual to talk positively instead of being pessimistic about life, and see the other side of it, and it will help the individual to come out effectively.
Interesting. And I really do like how you're passionate about this with a smile, and I know they need most of these smiles.
Definitely.
With your smile alone, you can snap someone out of depression, I must say. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
I'm grateful.
Yes, we were speaking with Dr. Uduak, and of course she has really, really, she's given insights to this subject, and of course you've been able to learn a thing or two about it. But at this point, this is where we pause it to go on a short time out. But we come back, we take on the rest of the show. Another interesting part, so stay on with us. Welcome back, and we'll be giving you more of this round so that perhaps if you had some ugly thoughts that was getting you worried or all worked up, don't worry, it won't get to depression because we're here to take that away. And of course, talking about that, we'll just get on to the next segments, and that's talking about Did You Know? Where we expose our viewer to, content or perhaps ideas that they never thought of.
Yeah, definitely. Very interesting facts that maybe you didn't know of. So we'll bring that to you right about now.
Years.
Okay, welcome back. It's still Rise and Shine, and we just came off Did You Know? That was actually very interesting. And, sometimes you don't know some of those things, but when we bring them to you like this, you're like, okay, so I'm wondering, what's that
in as much as
that you remember?
I would say that I remember quite a lot from my childhood till now. I wouldn't despise or actually fault this because, quite frankly, from 18, when you're becoming, approaching puberty and all of that, that's when you have most activities of your life, come through and changes and all of that. So it will just get stuck there. Regardless, I still remember a lot.
Yeah, you're more conscious when you begin to get to that puberty or your early 20s. You get more conscious of things happening around you. But I can also say that, I remember some things back in primary school.
Yeah.
And some things that happened in my 20s, I tell you, maybe I can't remember.
I think
primary
sometimes
school,
it works like
I had a bully who was on my neck. That would get me like before they ring the 1 o'clock bell, because back then nursery schools used to close by 1 p.m. So yes, before the bell rings, I'll have to look at where my teacher is. And
so you had
I know, like your memories is more like a file cabinet thing in your mind.
Yeah.
So when that said that we remember things from our early days, like our early 20s, it makes a whole lot of sense. Because I know, like with dementia patients, sometimes the later part of their lives is wiped away.
Yeah.
All they can remember is memories from their 20th. So you can find out that maybe some of those people who are suffering from dementia, they're beginning to remember their first love. They don't know their children who came in their 40s and their 30s. They remember all the memories from secondary school. So they want to have secondary school conversations. They want to have conversations around moonlight and all of those kinds of things. So the file cabinet for from 30 years and 40 years is dragged out. And you have the one from teens and your early 20s. So it makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes a whole lot of sense. Like what you just said, that's why sometimes you see people suffering from dementia. They just become very childish.
Very childish.
All of a sudden, and you're wondering, why is this person behaving like
that's
that?
all they can remember. That's the file cabinet left in them.
Trust me,
I'm
we've been
having
this conversation recently on an alumni page where a lot of persons tend to always remember what happened back then in secondary school.
So now this is the explanation.
And they're talking about it, and I was like, I don't see why we should be talking about things that had happened in the past. Why don't we talk about things we can do and push this forward? So they say, well, and all of that. So it was a hit about, perhaps when I leave here, I would have to tell them why they keep talking about things that happened in the past. But well, it's interesting. And of course, I'm sure you find that interesting as well. But we move ahead to the health tips for today.
Okay, so you know there's this thing they always say about nature.
Yeah.
That, you know, when you come out and you just look at nature, you just, you know, breathe in nature, it just has a way of relaxing you, your mood, your countenance, everything about you. I think that's
Definitely.
a good one.
That's watching the sunrise and sunset. And if you are in a space like where we are, the beautiful hills, the person
just
is
go up the
from
hill.
you. Yeah.
Watch the trees. Communicate with
You're
them.
closer to the sky.
Yes. Listen to the chirpings of the birds. You know, all of that put together.
Really nice ideas. Because thinking about it now, I'm thinking, once I read that, I was like, it means all of us working here shouldn't be stressed and feeling depressed because we have a lot of greenery around us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we can maximize that. Like it was said there in the tip, during your lunch hour, step out of the building, step out of the lights, you know, engage nature, engage all of these things. It's a good way.
So it's not
Relaxes and
surprising if
switches
I
your
see
mood.
you go out there and you're talking
But I
to
do
the
that.
flowers.
I do that all the time.
You're talking to the flowers, yeah.
Oh, talking to the flowers now. I don't
talking to yourself in front
of the flowers.
Oh, talking to yourself in front of the flower. Oh, well, I know a colleague of ours that does that real good.
Wow.
Yes, I wouldn't want to say her name, but
I will meet you behind closed. I have to know that.
Well, yes, interesting stuff. But we'll move ahead to perhaps another interesting one that you would find even more interesting, and that's our recipe for today. Well, one thing I can say about this is that I know that we're gradually, you know, losing out on some of our African delicacies because I know this particular garden egg is something that a lot of persons have not seen. I know my mommy used to use it back in the days, but I think I've not used it in many years. Yeah.
Back in the day, I know that in like upwards of 20 years, I haven't seen this particular vegetable, and I haven't had the vegetable sauce, garden egg sauce meal in over 20 years. I don't even think it's something you can easily walk into the market and find like every other vegetable.
Yeah,
I think if you're intentional
market.
enough,
if you're
you can find
intentional,
it.
yes.
Yes.
But I'm saying something that I don't have to be intentional about, and then I can just.
It's not a daily thing. It's not a regular thing.
Yeah, it's not regular. But funny enough, I'm on another level altogether because I had this like a couple of weeks back.
Oh my goodness!
And guess what? I was surprised when I had it. Like, where did you guys get this from? Because it was like a while before that particular day. But it's always nice. I like the fact that
with yam.
I always like the fact that everything about this particular sauce is natural, from the garden eggs to the iru that is being used, and then a sprinkle of smoked fish or dry fish.
You get it. You get the
when you're done with it, you just go and sleep.
Well, I believe that that's a recipe we can all try, but so
sure.
we don't just hang there. We're going to take our quote of the day, and when we return, it will be a wrap from all of us here.
I wake up every morning at 9 and grab for the morning papers. Then I look at the obituary page. If my name is not on it, I get up. Oh my God! What a motivation!
From Benjamin Franklin. I think it's a great quote,
Definitely.
Because sometimes people just have this entitlement mentality. They sleep and they wake up and it's my right to wake up.
Yeah,
but it's something for us to be thankful for every time it happens.
This reminds me of one of Akon's music, one of Akon's songs that used to be my favorite. One of the things.
Everything for me, like you have a song for everything you want to say.
Okay, I think it's Ghetto is ghetto. Okay. No need to cherish luxuries because everything come and go. Even the life that you have is bored. Oh my God. You're not promised tomorrow actually. So live your life as if every day is going to be life. So whatever you have to do it now and do it today.
Jordan Sparks, one day at a time. One day at a time. There's no need to rush.
It's like learning to fly, or something like that.
Yeah,
it's not a chorus.
I don't have a song to share this morning.
So sorry.
But it's been a really beautiful ride, I must say.
Very
enlightening one. All of the information on depression and everything that we can do to help each other.
Music is one key thing that can actually snap you out of depression.
Can actually snap.
It's always soothing.
But you know that there is also how people who are experiencing depression also listen to sad music that further listen to sad music that further
that deepens depression.
So that's another thing. When you choose music wisely.
Yeah,
correct.
Yes. But well, that's our show for this Wednesday edition of Rise and Shine. It was an interesting outing, a very interesting one for us, just as we hope it was interesting for you and you had a thing or two to learn about or take home from this. But well, we sent you forth to go ahead and rise and shine in your different daily endeavors. For us here, we'll do this again tomorrow. My name is Otobasitam.
Definitely. My name is Janice Coburn. Be very intentional about your June and keep being yourself as well.
Yes, thank you for joining us today. I remain Uyai, and I can see you tomorrow.
SpectrumTv, broadening your horizon.
The Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by grossly abused. Our governors have to share police powers with the president as stipulated by the Constitution. We do not have a federal government police force. We have the Nigerian police force, which shall be administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries of the death of Abiola?
Rogers has linked you with some of the killings he did?
He never did.
He linked you with the attempted murder of Hebrew.
He did not.
My Lord, the matters counsel is leading the evidence in our matters.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court,
Is
my Lord.
this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my Lord. These cases are in court, my Lord. I'm just reminding your Lordship.
My Lord, sorry, my Lord, I think I'll be in cross-examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Elections in Nigeria is characterized by fraud.
It is not pure election because of the way they conduct it.
The elections are here again. For us in Akwa Ibom State, it is another opportunity to elect credible and potential leaders.
But I see some of them are not really credible.
In fact, when you talk about the credibility in Nigerian system, it's absent.
As for the aspirants, what are your plans to better the lives of citizens and ensure that it is not just another era of political promises?
Some aspirants came up with so childish kind of manifesto, something that you know that they cannot do.
Even if after campaigning and promising heaven and earth, you find out that by the time they come in, they cannot do 50% of what they promised.
Because they are coming to see this. If they don't use this, they will not achieve what they want. So it is the normal thing they must use to convince a man that does not have a proper ideology to vote them.
So it's just a mere slogan. It's just a mere slogan to use and have their right into power.
What do you, the people, think about the elections?
The electoral process has been marred by malpractice and all of that.
That's a bad thing in Nigeria. All for election night, it's about money.
Definitely, no matter what the reforms they are carrying out, they will still be rigging.
It's about the aspirants, the manifesto, the people's view, an in-depth analysis.
That godfatherism is what has eaten deep into our political system. It has become a cankerworm that has left our political system into a corrupt system.
If it is not godfatherism, somebody like me, I will become the counselor. So because I don't have a godfather, it will not work.
Because people feel that they will come and invest, they need to get something back home. So the major aim is not about the people, it's about their family and themselves.
Godfatherism will not help the politics to grow. It won't help democracy to grow.
Vote buying will even be more this time around because these people, most of them have stolen a lot of money and they will use this money to buy votes.
Who gets to represent you in government at all levels?
Well, for me, the new breed aspirants, I would love the new breed aspirants. But for those, there are some of them that will not, I would say, definitely, I wouldn't want them to come back definitely to power.
Join us on Akwa Ibom Decides every Saturday and Sunday by 3 p.m. each day, exclusive to Spectrum Television, as we take on the aspirants set to lead you.
politics is a game. It is about delivering dividends of democracy. For this, accountability is key. So we listen, we follow up on the promise, and we track the progress. Watch Political Spectrum weekdays, 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., exclusive to Spectrum Television.
A knowledge of global businesses, economic activities, a new wave of the stock market, forex market, cryptocurrencies, and NFTs creates new dynamics towards emerging market millionaires and billionaires. From the dot-com era to the oil booms, the fundamental news drives the market. This is Business 360, taking you to the business around the globe. Join us from 11:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. weekdays, exclusive on Spectrum Television. Business 360, your prism to world businesses.